There's a sound you never forget. The soft click of a door closing in your face. Not a slam, not angry, just final. I heard it standing in a hospital hallway on a Tuesday morning, holding a teddy bear I'd sewn by hand. Hello, my name is Margaret Thompson. Most people call me Maggie. I'm 63 years old, and I live alone in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in a small brick house my late husband left me 20 years ago. The mortgage is paid off. The yard needs work. The kitchen faucet drips at night. I worked 37 years as an administrative assistant at a regional insurance office. I retired last spring. My hands shake a little now when I'm tired, and my lower back aches after long drives. But I can still thread a needle without glasses, and I bake a decent peach cobbler. I raised one son by myself after my husband walked out. His name is Daniel. He's 29 now. He has a wife, a job, a house 2 states away. And on that Tuesday morning in early August, he became a father. I'd never been a grandmother before. Let me tell you how it started. The call came at 1 in the morning. I was half asleep, watching an old movie on cable with the volume low. When my phone lit up, I thought maybe it was a wrong number. But it was Daniel's name on the screen. Mom? We're at the hospital. Baby's coming tonight. I was out of bed before he finished the sentence. I didn't pack much. A change of clothes. My toothbrush. The teddy bear I'd been working on for 3 weeks, stuffed with soft filling and stitched with navy thread. I'd embroidered the baby's name on the left paw, Oliver James Crawford. Daniel had told me the name 2 months earlier, proud and nervous on the phone. The drive from Chattanooga to Louisville takes about 5 hours if you don't stop. I stopped once, at a truck stop just over the Kentucky line. The clerk was a tired-looking woman with blonde hair pulled back tight. She rang up my coffee without looking at me. Long night? She asked. Longest one in a while, I said. She nodded like she understood, though she didn't know why. I got back in the car and kept driving. The highway was empty. The sky stayed dark for a long time, then slowly turned gray at the edges. I thought about Daniel as a baby. How small he'd been. How I used to hold him against my chest and feel his heartbeat through his sleeper. When he was 4, he asked me where his dad went. I told him the truth as gently as I could. Some people aren't built to stay. It wasn't Daniel's fault. It wasn't mine either, not really. It was just how things turned out. After that, it was the 2 of us. I worked double shifts when I could. I missed his school plays sometimes, but I never missed a birthday. I taught him to tie his shoes, to say please and thank you, to call if he was going to be late. When he graduated high school, I cried in the parking lot before the ceremony started. He went to college on a partial scholarship. I helped with the rest. He met Sarah there, a quiet girl studying nursing. They got married 2 years ago in a small ceremony at a chapel near campus. I wore a blue dress I'd bought on sale and carried a small bouquet. Sarah's family was there too. Her parents, her 2 younger sisters, her grandmother. They took a lot of pictures. I stood on the edge of most of them, smiling, trying not to take up too much space. I reached the hospital a little after 7. The sun was up by then, bright and clean. I parked in the visitor lot and checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. My hair was gray and thin. My face looked older than I expected. I straightened my collar and grabbed the teddy bear from the passenger seat. Inside, the lobby smelled like disinfectant and burned coffee. A receptionist at the desk directed me to the 4th floor. I took the elevator up, gripping the bear tighter than I needed to. Room 412. The door was halfway open. I could hear voices inside. Laughter. A baby crying softly, then stopping. I stood there for a moment, just listening. Then Daniel stepped out. He looked exhausted. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled. But he was smiling. "Mom," he said, "you made it." Of course I made it. I held up the bear. "I brought this for Oliver." Daniel glanced over his shoulder, back into the room. His smile faltered. "Mom, Sarah's really tired. It was a long labor. She just wants her family right now. Her side of the family, I mean. Just for today." I looked past him, through the gap in the door. I could see Sarah's mother sitting by the bed, holding the baby. Sarah's father stood nearby, taking pictures on his phone. Her sisters were laughing about something near the window. 2 other people I didn't recognize sat in chairs by the wall. 7 people in that room. "I am family," I said quietly. Daniel's face tightened. "I know, Mom. But Sarah's uncomfortable with too many people. She needs space. Can you come back tomorrow? I promise we'll call you." I looked down at the bear in my hands. The stitching along the seam. The tiny blue bow tie I'd sewn on by hand. "Tomorrow," I repeated. "Yeah, I'm sorry. I know you drove all this way. But it's what Sarah needs right now." He reached out and took the bear from me gently, like he was accepting a delivery. "Thanks for this, Mom. It's really nice." Then he stepped back into the room. And the door closed. Click. I stood there in the hallway for a long time. A nurse walked past pushing a cart. Somewhere down the hall, a baby was crying. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I walked back to the elevator. Pressed the button. Waited. "Tomorrow," he'd said. I thought about staying in Louisville. Finding a hotel. Waiting for his call. But something in my chest felt different. Heavy and cold. I got in my car and drove home. The house was exactly as I'd left it. The same dishes in the sink. The same blanket on the couch. I walked past the guest room, where I'd set up a small crib and painted the walls pale yellow. The mobile hung motionless above the crib, decorated with tiny moons and stars. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the wall. The phone didn't ring that night. Or the next day. Or the day after that. And somewhere in those quiet hours, I started to realize something I should have known a long time ago. There are people in this world who see you as a bank account. Not a person. Not a mother. Just a place to make withdrawals when they need something. I didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. 4 days passed before I heard from Daniel again. Not a text. Not a photo. Nothing. I went to work those days like everything was normal. I'd only been retired for 3 months, but my old boss had called asking if I could help with a temporary filing project. The office felt smaller than I remembered. The coffee tasted worse. My coworker Linda asked how the baby was. "He's fine," I said. "Healthy. You must be over the moon," she said, smiling. I nodded and went back to the filing cabinet. At home, I kept my phone on the kitchen counter where I could see it. I checked it more than I wanted to admit. I told myself Daniel was busy. New parents don't sleep. They're overwhelmed. He'd call when things settled down. But Sarah's mother had been in that room. And she'd managed to be there from the beginning. I tried not to think about it. On the 4th evening, I was making spaghetti when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick it up. "Hello? Is this Margaret Thompson?" "Yes. This is Colleen from St. Anthony's Hospital Billing Department. I'm calling regarding account number 4772958, patient Sarah Crawford." My stomach dropped. "There's an outstanding balance of $20,000. You're listed as the financial guarantor. I'm calling to discuss payment arrangements." I turned off the stove. My hand was shaking. I'm sorry. What did you say? $20,000, ma'am. The balance after insurance. You signed a guarantor agreement on August 3rd at 11:47 p.m., agreeing to cover costs not paid by the patient's insurance. August 3rd. I remembered that night. I'd been in bed, watching TV. Daniel called late, asking me to sign some hospital paperwork. He said it was insurance forms. Said the hospital needed them before Sarah checked in. I'd opened the email on my phone. Barely read it. The text was small, and I was tired. I'd signed with my finger on the screen and gone back to sleep. How much did you say? $20,000, ma'am. Due within 30 days, or the account goes to collections. Collections. That word hit me like cold water. Does Sarah know about this? The patient indicated you'd agreed to cover any costs not covered by insurance. I sat down at the kitchen table. The spaghetti sauce was still simmering, but I couldn't smell it anymore. I need to call you back, I said. I hung up and sat there in the quiet. $20,000. That was nearly half my annual income back when I was working full-time. That was my emergency fund. That was the money I'd saved for repairs, for emergencies, for retirement. Not this. I went to my laptop and pulled up my email. Found the one from Daniel dated August 3rd, 11:47 p.m. Subject: insurance forms. Mom, can you sign this hospital insurance form for me? They need it before Sarah checks in tomorrow. Just sign at the bottom. Thanks. I clicked the attachment. The document loaded slowly. At the top, in bold letters, it said Financial Guarantor Agreement. Not insurance. Guarantor. I read it 3 times. Each time, the words stayed the same. The undersigned agrees to assume financial responsibility for all charges not covered by patient insurance. I sat back in my chair. He'd lied to me. Not a misunderstanding. Not a mistake. A deliberate lie. I called him. It rang 5 times before he answered. Mom, hey, I can't really talk right now. Oliver's fussy. I got a call from the hospital. Silence. Oh, yeah, about that. $20,000, Daniel. I know. I was going to tell you. It's just been crazy, and you told me it was insurance paperwork. It is insurance related. It's all medical billing, Mom. Same thing. No, it's not the same thing. You made me a guarantor. That means I'm legally responsible for paying if you don't. He sighed. Look, insurance didn't cover as much as we thought. We didn't know it was going to be that high. But if we set up a payment plan, you lied to me. I didn't lie. I just didn't explain every detail. You always help us out, so I figured. You figured I wouldn't read it. Another silence. Longer this time. Mom, you're making this a bigger deal than it is. We're family. Families help each other. Family doesn't trick each other into signing legal documents. His voice hardened. We're drowning here, okay? The mortgage on the new house just started. We can't afford this. Our credit's already maxed out. If this goes to collections, we're done. We could lose the house. I looked around my kitchen. The same kitchen I'd kept running for 29 years. The same stove where I'd cooked Daniel's meals when he was small and money was tight. The same table where I'd helped him with homework until midnight because I'd worked a double shift. I'd done all that, alone. I'm not paying it, I said quietly. What? I'm not paying the $20,000. Mom, are you serious? You're going to let us lose everything because you're upset? I'm upset because you lied to me. You made me sign something without knowing what it was. God, you're being so dramatic. It's not that deep. I needed help, and you've always been there before. Why is this different? Because you didn't ask, Daniel. You tricked me. He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his tone was colder. So that's it? You're just going to throw us under the bus? Your own son and grandson? I closed my eyes. If you cared about Oliver, you'd help us, he continued. But I guess you only care about yourself. That word, yourself. It stung more than I expected. I spent 29 years putting you first, I said. I gave up things I wanted so you could have what you needed. I drove 5 hours in the middle of the night because you told me to come. And when I got there, you shut the door in my face. Sarah was exhausted. I already explained that. There were 7 people in that room, Daniel. 7 people was fine, but 8 was too many? This isn't about the hospital room. Yes, it is. It's about all of it. You treat me like I'm a bank account. Not a person. Not your mother. Just someone you call when you need something. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Being lied to. Being used. And then being called selfish when I say no. He didn't respond right away. I could hear Oliver crying in the background. High-pitched and insistent. Fine, Daniel said. If that's how you feel, then don't help. We'll figure it out ourselves. Good. But don't expect us to pretend everything's okay after this. Actions have consequences, Mom. I wanted to say something back. Something sharp. But the words caught in my throat. Goodbye, Daniel. I hung up. My hands were shaking. The kitchen was too quiet. I stood up and walked to the sink, turning on the faucet just to have some noise. Water ran over my fingers, cold and steady. I thought about calling him back. Apologizing. Maybe offering to pay half. Maybe finding a way to fix it. But then I thought about that hospital hallway. The sound of the door closing. The teddy bear I'd sewn by hand, taken from me like a piece of mail. I turned off the water. That night, I called the hospital back. I asked to speak to someone in the billing department, then someone in their legal department. I explained everything. The email, the late-night call, the deliberate mislabeling of the document. I was deceived, I said. I have proof. I can send you the email and the text messages. I didn't understand what I was signing. The woman on the phone, her name was Rita, listened carefully. We'll need to review the documentation, she said. But if what you're saying is accurate, we may be able to remove you as the guarantor. How long will that take? A few days. Maybe a week. I'll need you to send everything you have. I spent the next 2 hours forwarding emails, taking screenshots, writing out a timeline of events. My back ached from sitting. My eyes burned. But I didn't stop until it was done. When I finally closed the laptop, it was almost midnight. I sat in the dark living room and looked at the guest bedroom door. The crib inside. The yellow walls. The mobile hanging from the ceiling with tiny moons and stars. I'd been so excited to set that up. Now it felt like a museum. A place for something that never happened. I went to bed but didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel's face in that hallway. The way he wouldn't quite look at me when he took the bear. 3 days later, Rita called back. Mrs. Thompson, we've reviewed your case. Based on the evidence, it's clear the document was misrepresented to you. We're removing your name as financial guarantor. The responsibility will revert to the patient and her spouse. I sat down hard on the couch. So I don't owe anything? Correct. However, I do need to inform you that the patient has stated they cannot pay the balance. If payment isn't made within 21 days, the account will go to collections. 21 days. That wasn't my problem anymore. Thank you, I said. After I hung up, I expected to feel relief. Maybe even satisfaction. But I didn't. I just felt hollow. Daniel called that evening from a different number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. What did you do? His voice was tight, angry. I told the truth. The hospital called. They said the whole bill's on us now. All 20,000. How could you do this? How could I not? You lied to me, Daniel. We're going to lose everything. The house. Our credit. Everything. Are you happy now? I looked at the ceiling. A crack ran along the corner that I'd been meaning to fix for months. No, I said. I'm not happy. But I'm not responsible for cleaning up a mess you made. You're my mother. And you're my son. That should have meant something to you before you decided to use me. He was quiet. I could hear Sarah talking in the background, her voice sharp and upset. Don't call me again, he said finally. We're done. He hung up before I could respond. I set the phone down on the coffee table and stared at it. Done. That word sat heavy in the room. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there, breathing slow and steady, trying to convince myself I'd done the right thing. But somewhere deep down, a small voice whispered that I'd just lost my son. And maybe my only chance to be a grandmother. I blocked Daniel's number the next morning. I didn't think about it. I just did it. Opened my phone, found his contact, pressed the button. A small message appeared. This contact will no longer be able to call or message you. Done. I set the phone down and made coffee. The kitchen was bright. Too bright. The sun came through the window over the sink and made everything look sharp and clean. I drank the coffee standing up. That first week was strange. I kept expecting my phone to ring. Every time I heard a car door outside, I thought maybe it was Daniel showing up to talk. To apologize. To explain. But nothing came. Linda noticed something was wrong at work. You okay, Maggie? You seem quiet. I'm fine, I said. Just tired. She didn't push. People don't usually push when you say you're fine. I went home every day and sat in the same chair. I watched TV without really watching it. I ate dinner standing at the counter because sitting at the table felt too formal, too lonely. The guest room door stayed closed. On Saturday, my older sister Paula called. Haven't heard from you in a while, she said. Thought I'd check in. Paula lives in Knoxville, about 2 hours north. She's been divorced twice and has no kids. She works at the public library and collects ceramic owls. We don't talk every week, but we talk enough. I'm okay, I said. That's what people say when they're not okay. I sat down on the couch. Looked at the ceiling. Daniel and I aren't speaking. Silence on the other end. Then, what happened? I told her. The hospital. The closed door. The bill. The guarantor form. All of it. When I finished, Paula didn't say anything for a long moment. So let me get this straight, she finally said. He lied to you, used you, shut you out, and then got mad when you stood up for yourself? That's about it. And you feel guilty? I didn't answer. But she knew. Maggie, listen to me. You didn't do anything wrong. I know. Do you? Because you sound like you're trying to convince yourself you're a bad person for saying no. I rubbed my eyes. He's my son. And you're his mother. That should have meant something to him before he decided to treat you like an ATM. I laughed, but it came out hollow. He said we're done. Good. Let him sit with that. Maybe he'll figure out how much he's lost. Or maybe he won't. Paula sighed. Maybe. But that's on him, not you. You can't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Not even your kid. After we hung up, I sat there holding the phone. Paula was right. I knew she was right. But knowing something and feeling it are two different things. That night, I opened the guest room door. The crib looked smaller than I remembered. The yellow walls looked dull in the lamplight. I stood there for a while, just looking. Then I closed the door again. I wasn't ready to take it apart yet. 2 weeks passed. I started going to the grocery store at different times because I was afraid I'd run into someone who'd ask about the baby. I avoided Linda's questions at work. I stopped checking my phone as much. I thought about reaching out to Daniel. Just to see how Oliver was doing. Just to say I was sorry for what? I didn't even know. But every time I picked up my phone, I remembered the hospital hallway. The sound of that door clicking shut. And I put the phone down. On a Thursday evening, I was sorting through mail when I found a large envelope. No return address. Just my name and address printed on a label. I opened it. Inside was a legal document. Thick paper. Official looking. The first page said summons. My hands went cold. I flipped through the pages. Legal terms I didn't fully understand. But some words jumped out. Plaintiff Daniel Crawford and Sarah Crawford. Defendant Margaret Thompson. Complaint for financial elder abuse and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I read it again. Then again. They were suing me. Daniel and Sarah were suing me. The document claimed I had refused to provide necessary financial support for my grandson's medical care. It said I had manipulated hospital billing to shift financial burden onto a young family. It said my actions caused severe emotional distress and financial harm. I sat down at the kitchen table. The words blurred together. Elder abuse, emotional distress, financial harm. They'd turned it around, made me the villain. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there, staring at the paper. The phone rang. I almost didn't answer. But it was Paula's number. Hello? Maggie. Did you get something in the mail? My stomach sank. You got one too? Yeah. Daniel called me last week asking if I'd testify that you were mentally unstable and financially abusive. I told him to go to hell. Then today, this shows up. A subpoena. I closed my eyes. He's suing me. I know. I read the whole thing. It's garbage, Maggie. Complete garbage. He lied to you, and now he's trying to make it look like you're the one who hurt him. What do I do? You get a lawyer. A good one. And you fight this. Paula, I can't afford. You can't afford not to. If he wins, he could take everything. Your savings. Your house. Everything. I looked around my kitchen. The same kitchen I'd kept for 20 years. The house my husband's life insurance had paid for after he died. I don't want to fight my own son. He's already fighting you, Maggie. You're just deciding whether to stand up or get knocked down. After she hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. The summons sat on the table in front of me. Official, legal, real. I thought about calling Daniel. Asking him why. Asking him if we could just talk instead of doing this. But I knew the answer. He didn't want to talk. He wanted me to pay. To give in. To go back to being the person who said yes to everything. And I couldn't do that anymore. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Piper Quinlan. Her office was in downtown Chattanooga, in an old brick building. The receptionist said she specialized in family law and elder financial abuse cases. The consultation was free. I brought the summons. I brought the email from Daniel. I brought every text message, every document I had. Piper was in her 50s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She read through everything without saying a word. Then she looked up at me. "This is retaliation," she said. "Pure and simple. They're trying to intimidate you into paying. Can they win? Not if we present the facts. You have proof he misrepresented the document. You have proof you removed yourself legally through proper channels. They're claiming abuse, but the evidence shows the opposite. So what do? We file a response. And then we countersue. I blinked. Countersue? For fraud. For emotional distress. For exactly what they did to you. We make it clear that if they want a legal fight, they'll get one. My hands were shaking. This is my son. Piper's expression softened. I know. And I'm sorry. But he's the one who made this a legal matter. You're just defending yourself. I looked down at my hands. The veins stood out. The skin looked thin and spotted. How much will this cost? I'll be honest. It won't be cheap. But if we win, they'll have to cover your legal fees. And Mrs. Thompson, she leaned forward. You can win this. The evidence is on your side. I sat there for a long moment. Then I nodded. Okay, let's do it. When I left Piper's office, the sun was too bright. The street was too loud. I got in my car and sat there, gripping the steering wheel. My son was suing me. I was countersuing my son. This was real. This was happening. I drove home slowly. When I got there, I walked past the guest room without looking at it. Went to the kitchen. Made tea I didn't drink. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Sarah. I know you got the papers. We didn't want to do this, but you left us no choice. If you just pay what you owe, we can drop everything and move on. I stared at the message. What I owe. As if I was the one who lied. As if I was the one who shut doors and broke promises. I deleted the text. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about the first time I held Daniel as a baby. How small he was. How I promised him I'd always protect him. I never thought I'd need to protect myself from him. But here I was. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened the closet in the guest room and pulled out an old box. Inside were Daniel's baby clothes. A blanket I'd knitted. His first pair of shoes. I sat on the floor and held them. Then I put them back, closed the box, and carried it to the attic. Some things you can't keep looking at. Some things hurt too much. And if I was going to survive this, I needed to stop living in the past. Piper called that afternoon. We filed the response and the countersuit. They'll receive it within 48 hours. Okay, Mrs. Thompson, I need you to be prepared. This might get worse before it gets better. They might say things, do things. It's going to be hard. I know, but you're doing the right thing. I wanted to believe her. But sitting in my empty house, looking at the closed door of the guest room, I wasn't sure I knew what the right thing was anymore. All I knew was that I couldn't go back. The door had closed, and this time, I wasn't the one standing outside. The deposition was scheduled for March 15th. 7 months after Oliver was born. 7 months since I'd seen my grandson. 7 months since I'd heard Daniel's voice, except through lawyers. Piper called me the week before. You need to be ready, she said. Daniel's lawyer is going to try to make you look cold. Uncaring. He'll twist your words. Stay calm. Answer only what's asked. Don't volunteer anything. Okay. And Maggie? He's going to be in the room. Daniel, are you prepared for that? I wasn't, but I said yes anyway. The deposition was held in a conference room downtown. Gray carpet. Long table. Windows that looked out over the parking lot. I arrived early. Piper was already there, setting up files and arranging papers in neat stacks. You look tired, she said. Didn't sleep much. That's normal. Just remember you tell the truth. That's all you have to do. Daniel arrived 10 minutes late. I heard his voice in the hallway before I saw him. Talking to his lawyer. Laughing about something. When he walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost weight. His face looked thinner, older. He was wearing a suit I'd never seen before. Dark blue. Probably borrowed. He didn't look at me. His lawyer was a young guy named Trevor. Mid-30s, maybe. Expensive watch. Hair styled with too much gel. He smiled too much. "Good morning, everyone. Let's get started." The court reporter sat at the end of the table. Older woman with reading glasses on a chain. Blank expression. She placed her hands on the stenography machine and nodded. Trevor started with easy questions. My name. My address. How long I'd lived there. My employment history. Then he shifted. Mrs. Thompson, when did you first learn your son was expecting a child? In February. Last year. And what was your reaction? I was happy. Excited. Did you offer financial support at that time? I hesitated. I offered to help however I could. Can you be more specific? What kind of help? Emotional support. Being there. I didn't discuss money. Trevor smiled. Not a kind smile. But you've helped your son financially in the past, correct? Yes. Can you give examples? I looked at Piper. She nodded slightly. I helped pay for college. Helped with his wedding. Gave him money when his car broke down a few years ago. So you have a history of providing financial assistance to your son? When I could, yes. And he had reason to believe you'd continue that pattern? I suppose. Trevor leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Thompson, when your grandson was born, you drove to Louisville to see him, correct? Yes. How long was the drive? About 5 hours. That's a long drive for a woman your age. You must have been very eager to meet your grandson. Piper spoke up. Objection. That's not a question, and the characterization is inappropriate. Trevor waved his hand. I'll rephrase. Were you eager to meet your grandson? Of course. But when you arrived, you weren't allowed in the room immediately. That's correct. How did that make you feel? I paused. Chose my words carefully. Disappointed. Just disappointed? Yes. Not angry? I was upset. But I understood Sarah was tired. Trevor flipped through his notes. But you didn't stay in Louisville, did you? You left. Drove home that same day. Yes. Why? I didn't see the point in staying if I wasn't welcome. So you felt unwelcome? I felt like my presence wasn't wanted at that time. And that hurt your feelings? Yes. Trevor nodded slowly, like I'd just confirmed something important. Mrs. Thompson, a few days later, you received a call from the hospital billing department, correct? Yes. And you learned you'd been listed as a financial guarantor for Sarah's medical expenses? Yes. That must have been shocking. Piper interrupted. Is there a question? Trevor smiled. Were you shocked? I was confused, I said. I didn't remember signing anything like that. But you had signed it, hadn't you? I'd signed something. But I was told it was insurance paperwork. By whom? By Daniel. My son. Trevor glanced at Daniel. Daniel was staring at the table, his jaw tight. So your son asked you to sign a document, and you did, without reading it? He called late at night. The text was small on my phone screen. He said it was just insurance forms. But it wasn't. No, it was a financial guarantor agreement. Making you legally responsible for $20,000 in medical bills. Yes. And when you found out, you were angry? I was upset. Angry enough to refuse to pay? I looked at him. I refused to pay because I was deceived. Trevor's smile widened. Deceived. That's a strong word. Your son needed help. His wife had just given birth. They were overwhelmed. And instead of helping, you chose to walk away. Piper stood. That's not a question. That's a speech. I'll move on. Trevor shuffled his papers. Mrs. Thompson, after you contacted the hospital and had your name removed as guarantor, did you consider the impact that would have on your son's family? I considered that they'd have to pay for their own medical bills. Yes, bills they couldn't afford. That wasn't my responsibility, even though it was your grandson's birth. Even then, Trevor leaned forward. Isn't it true, Mrs. Thompson, that you were angry at being excluded from the hospital room, and this was your way of punishing your son? My chest tightened. No. You drove 5 hours, got turned away, and days later you found out about the bill. Seems like a lot of anger built up. I was hurt, not vengeful. Hurt enough to abandon your grandson when he needed you most? I didn't abandon anyone. You refused to pay for his mother's medical care. How is that not abandonment? My voice cracked. I was lied to. Or maybe you just didn't want to help. That's not true, isn't it? You've admitted you felt unwelcome. You felt rejected. And this was your chance to reject them back. No, you could have paid the bill and worked it out later. But you chose to make a point instead. That's not. You put your pride above your grandson's welfare. Objection. Piper stood. Counsel is testifying and badgering the witness. Trevor held up his hands. I'm done with this witness. I sat back. My hands were shaking. I looked at Daniel. He was still staring at the table, but his jaw was clenched. Piper took over. Her questions were simpler, calmer. She walked through the email. The time stamps. The exact wording Daniel used. Then she asked me the question that mattered. Mrs. Thompson, if your son had been honest about what he was asking you to sign, would you have signed it? I thought about it. Really thought. I don't know, I said. Maybe. But he didn't give me that choice. He lied. And that's what hurt most. After the deposition ended, everyone packed up quickly. Daniel stood and walked toward the door without looking at me. But then he stopped, turned around. We locked eyes for the first time in 7 months. You're really going through with this? He said quietly. You sued me first. Because you left us with nothing. I left you with the bill you created. He shook his head. You know what? I used to think you were strong. Raising me alone. Working all those jobs. I thought you were this tough person who could handle anything. He stepped closer. But you're just selfish. You care more about being right than about your own family. The words hit like a slap. Daniel, Oliver's almost a year old now. You've never even held him. You know that? You've never touched him. And that's on you, not me. You. My throat closed up. You shut me out first, I managed to say. For one day, Mom. And you've punished us for 7 months. You lied to me. So what? I made a mistake. I was desperate. But instead of forgiving me, you destroyed us. You know we almost lost the house? You know Sarah cries every night because we can't afford groceries and daycare? That's not my fault. It is. You could have helped. You chose not to. Trevor appeared behind Daniel. We need to go. Daniel didn't move. He kept staring at me. I hope this was worth it, he said. Whatever you think you're winning. I hope it was worth losing your family. Then he left. The room was silent. Piper touched my arm. Maggie, I need a minute. She nodded and stepped out. I sat alone in that gray conference room, staring at the empty chair where Daniel had been sitting. His words echoed. You've never even held him. It was true. Oliver was almost a year old, and I'd never held him. Never touched him. Never heard him laugh. And whose fault was that? Daniel said it was mine. Maybe he was right. I thought about the hospital hallway. The closed door. The teddy bear. I thought about the lie. The guarantor form. The $20,000. I thought about the lawsuit. The countersuit. This whole mess. And for the first time, I wondered if I'd made the wrong choice. Maybe I should have just paid it. Maybe I should have swallowed my pride and kept the peace. Maybe being right wasn't worth being alone. I put my head in my hands. Piper came back in after a few minutes. You okay? I don't know. She sat down across from me. What Daniel said, that was manipulation. He's trying to make you doubt yourself. What if he's not wrong? He is wrong. You were lied to. You were used. You have every right to defend yourself. But I've lost him. I've lost my grandson. Piper was quiet for a moment. Maybe, she said softly. Or maybe he'll come around eventually. But Maggie, even if he doesn't, you can't let people treat you like this. Not even family. Especially not family. I looked up at her. What if I don't care about being right anymore? What if I just want my son back? Then you need to ask yourself if the son you want back is the one who lied to you. Or the one you wish he was. That night, I sat in the dark living room. I didn't turn on the TV. Didn't make dinner. I just sat. Daniel's words played over and over. You're just selfish. You've never even held him. You destroyed us. I thought about calling him. Telling him I'd drop everything. Pay the bill. Make it go away. But then I remembered the email. The lie. The way he wouldn't look at me in the hallway. And I remembered something else. I remembered being 24 years old. Alone. Scared. Holding a newborn Daniel while his father packed a bag and walked out. I remembered working 2 jobs. Missing sleep. Skipping meals so he could eat. I remembered every birthday, every Christmas, every scraped knee, every bad dream. I remembered all of it. And I realized something. I wasn't selfish for protecting myself. I was just tired of being used. The trial was set for June. 3 months away. 3 months to decide if I was going to keep fighting. Or let go. I didn't know which would hurt more. The trial lasted 3 days. June came hot and humid. The courthouse had air conditioning, but it never quite worked right. Everyone looked tired. The judge, the lawyers, the handful of people in the gallery. Me. Piper had prepared me well. We went over everything twice. The emails, the phone records, the timeline. She told me to breathe between answers. To look at the jury when I spoke. To tell the truth and nothing else. Daniel's lawyer presented him as a struggling young father. Desperate. Overwhelmed. Trying his best. He showed pictures of Oliver. A chubby baby with dark hair and Daniel's eyes. The jury looked at those photos for a long time. Then Piper showed them the email. Insurance forms, she read aloud. That's what he called it. But look at the actual document. Financial guarantor agreement. Those aren't the same thing. She showed them the timestamps. The late night call. The 5 minutes between the email and my signature. Mrs. Thompson is 63 years old, Piper said. She was half asleep. She trusted her son. And he used that trust to deceive her into taking on a debt she didn't understand and never agreed to. The jury watched me while she spoke. I tried not to cry. On the second day, Daniel testified. He explained how scared he was when Oliver was born. How the hospital bills piled up faster than they expected. How he didn't know what else to do. I just needed help, he said. And my mom always helped before. I thought she'd understand. Did you tell her it was a guarantor agreement? Piper asked during cross-examination. No. Did you tell her she'd be responsible for $20,000? No. Why not? Daniel looked down. Because I knew she'd say no. So you intentionally deceived her? Long pause. Yes. The courtroom was quiet. On the third day, the judge delivered the verdict. I won. The lawsuit against me was dismissed. Daniel and Sarah were ordered to pay my legal fees. The judge stated clearly that I had been deceived and had no legal or moral obligation to pay the hospital bill. Piper squeezed my hand under the table. It's over. But it didn't feel over. Daniel didn't look at me when we left the courtroom. He and Sarah walked out quickly, her hand on his arm. I saw her wipe her eyes with a tissue. Outside, the sun was too bright. The street noise felt too loud. Piper hugged me on the courthouse steps. "You did the right thing, Maggie." I nodded, but I wasn't sure what the right thing was anymore. That night, I sat in my kitchen and looked at the paperwork. The judgment, the court order, the proof that I'd won. It felt hollow. Paula called. I heard, "Congratulations. Thanks. You don't sound happy." "I'm not unhappy. I'm just tired." "That's normal. You've been fighting for almost a year. Give yourself time." After we hung up, I walked to the guest room. I opened the door and turned on the light. The crib was still there. Dusty now. The yellow walls looked faded. The mobile hung motionless, gathering dust. I sat on the floor and cried. Not because I lost. Not because I won. Just because it hurt. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mrs. Thompson?" "Yes. This is Sarah, Daniel's wife." My heart stopped. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me," she said quickly. But I needed to call. To say I'm sorry. I didn't respond. "We were wrong," she continued. "What we did, lying to you, suing you, all of it was wrong. I see that now. Daniel does too, though he's too proud to admit it yet." "Why are you calling?" "Because Oliver's turning 1 next month. And he should know his grandmother. I don't want him growing up thinking you didn't care. Because I know that's not true." My throat tightened. "I don't know if you can forgive us," Sarah said. "I wouldn't blame you if you couldn't. But I wanted you to know that we're sorry. Really, truly sorry." "Sarah, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it, please." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone. Part of me wanted to delete her number. Move on. Forget all of it. But another part of me thought about Oliver. A baby who'd turn 1 soon. A baby I'd never held. That night, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went to the guest room and started taking things down. The mobile, the crib bumpers, the tiny blankets I'd bought. I packed them carefully into boxes. Not throwing them away, just putting them aside. Then I repainted the walls. A soft gray this time. Neutral. It took me 3 days. When I finished, the room looked different. Empty, but peaceful. Like it was waiting for something new. I didn't know what yet. Paula came to visit that weekend. She helped me move the crib to the attic storage. "You doing okay?" she asked as we climbed back down the attic ladder. "I think so. You think?" I smiled. "I'm learning to be okay. There's a difference." We sat on the porch with iced tea. The weather was warm. Lightning bugs were starting to come out as evening approached. "I've been thinking," I said, "about everything that happened, and I don't regret standing up for myself. I needed to do that. But I also realize I can't control what happens next. Daniel might come around. He might not. Either way, I'll be okay." Paula nodded. "That's growth." "It doesn't feel like growth. It feels like acceptance. Sometimes those are the same thing." A month later, I got a card in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in handwriting I recognized. Inside was a single photo. Oliver, 1 year old, sitting on a blanket with a smash cake in front of him. Frosting all over his face. Smiling that huge toothless smile babies have. On the back, in Sarah's handwriting, "Thank you for thinking about it." I put the photo on my refrigerator. I didn't call, didn't text, just left it there. Some doors take time to open. Some never do. But I learned something through all of this. I learned that love isn't the same as sacrifice. That being someone's mother doesn't mean letting them treat you badly. That saying no isn't selfish, it's survival. I learned that you can be right and still feel sad. That winning doesn't always feel like winning. And I learned that even when a door closes, you don't have to stand outside forever. You can walk away. You can build a new door. You can decide who gets to walk through it. Last week, I started volunteering at the library. Paula suggested it. They needed help with the children's reading program on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. I read stories to kids. Their faces light up at the funny parts. They ask questions. They want to know what happens next. I like that, knowing what happens next. I also started painting again. Real painting, not just touching up walls. I bought an easel and set it up in the guest room. The gray room with the big window and good natural light. I paint oceans mostly. Waves crashing on rocks. Horizons stretching out forever. Wide open spaces. Sometimes I think about Daniel. About Oliver. About what might have been. But mostly, I think about what is. I'm 63 years old. I live alone. I have a sister who calls me twice a week. I have a house that's mine. A life that's mine. I don't know if Daniel and I will ever repair what broke between us. I hope so. But I can't force it. All I can do is keep my door unlocked. And wait to see if he's willing to knock. In the meantime, I'm learning something I should have learned a long time ago. That I'm enough. Just as I am. Without being needed. Without being used. Without being anyone's emergency fund or backup plan. Just Maggie. And that's enough. The photo of Oliver is still on my refrigerator. I look at it sometimes. He has Daniel's smile. My late husband's eyes. I wonder what kind of person he'll grow up to be. I hope he learns what I learned. That family is important. But so are boundaries. That love should never cost you your dignity. That closed doors aren't always the end of the story. Sometimes they're just the beginning of a new one. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share. But I wanted someone to know that you can survive this kind of hurt. That you can stand up for yourself and still be kind. That you can say no and still be a good person. If you found something meaningful in my story, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe to the Grandmama Radio channel. Hit that like button, and please turn on notifications so you don't miss future stories. Your support means more than you know. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, it's okay to close a door when you need to. Just make sure you're on the right side of it.